you can see he said he has shelved his plan to visit Kaduna, and instead he will go to Benue. But he also said they have to solve their problem. What is happening is actually retaliatory in nature, tit for tat. But it's like many people in Benue, they don't really accept that, because if you check the social media, they said it's like the president is trying to be biased. They are under attack, and the president is saying tit for tat. I don't know how we can reconcile this. This is commander-in-chief, meaning that he must have spoken based on intelligence.
You see, the question is that we're all human beings. Now, even in science, they say every action leads to a reaction. If you keep this, it cannot move unless you push it. So the question is that I don't think anybody in his right senses will just go and kill somebody just like that because you hate him. Repeatedly, I've told people that the major crisis in Plateau has always been the issue of tit for tat. That means you touch me, I touch you. And even now you could see that, and you see like the herders, their major problem, their major asset in life is actually their cows. And you could see that even when I was there, we used to have a lot of issues of cows being rustled, being poisoned, you know. And some of them, because of the fact that they don't have any, they are not educated, they are not close to government, they don't have the press. So some of them resort to...
Their problems are not hard.
They are not problems.
Is there a relationship between what is happening in Plateau and Benue? Is there an nexus?
Well, you see, criminality, I can tell you that certainly there are nexus, because you see, this is why the pull and push factors are all over. And I can tell you that there are, because, for example, in Benue, there is the issue of they are against open grazing. Now, even me, I'm against open grazing. But the question is that I used to tell people that if you say somebody should not do this, then you should give an alternative. This is why I myself have actually been one of those who have actually called for the fact that we need to have ranches. The time for open grazing is over, because that is what is done for hundreds of years.
But when it is not there, and you said that Nigeria is a country where no boundary for citizens, meaning every citizen has the right to move. Now, in Benue, for instance, this story has not been there. Of course, 200 people have been killed, but about the same time, they said they've seen over 200 cattle floating on River Benue. They have been poisoned. We are unable to authenticate it, but this is the story out there. Is this actually part of the problem? Because it's like politicians are running away from the problem in Benue, and we want to unravel it. What is your understanding?
This is why I say, my understanding is the fact that we can only have peace when there is justice. Be it a Fulani man, or a Birom, or a thief, or whatever. Whoever commits an offense, he should pay for it. And then everybody should be actually treated fairly and equally. There should be equality in treatment. In other words, and this is why I'm of the view that for anybody to find a solution to some of these problems, you must actually have to bring everybody on board.
General, very few will talk about the insecurity in the North Central, going by your experience. Maybe I should start with, before you get to the defense headquarters to take a new role. You were in Plateau as the garrison commander, where heinous crimes were perpetrated. And it appears those problems have not been resolved. If problem in Plateau cannot be resolved, will problem in Benue be resolved? We want you to share your Plateau experience with us.
Okay, it's a pleasure having me. Let me first start by expressing my deep pains and anguish over the killings in Benue and all other parts of the country. I sympathize with the government and the people of Benue and Plateau states over these unfortunate incidents. Now, based on my experience, I would like to state that there is a nexus.
There is a nexus.
There is a nexus between insecurity and injustice. There is a nexus between insecurity and corruption. This country, as you see, we are actually flagged by endemic corruption and pervasive injustice. In this country, you can buy judgment with money, you can buy judgment with religion, you can buy judgment with tribe, you can buy judgment with your office, you can buy judgment with your political affiliation. Judgment, so that means justice becomes more elusive. And once there is no justice, insecurity will continue to thrive. This is why insecurity, you can see that the frequency, the scope, and the scale at which we're experiencing insecurity is so pervasive, is so endemic, that some urgent steps need to be taken. So to me, at the basis of all these things are the fact that so many people are actually being denied their rights. There are so many other factors that could be responsible for these cycles of killings. These are multifaceted and multidimensional. There is the political dimension, in which politicians instigate people to be engaged in crimes and criminality. Politicians. Then there is the economic dimension, in which poverty instigates people to indulge in other forms of criminality. Then there is a social dimension, in which injustice perpetrated by those in government pushes people to engage in criminal activity.
And I want to take you on this last one, that you say, actions of those in government.
Yes.
Lack of fairness.
Yes.
Serving as oil.
Yes.
For this round of criminality. I want you to expatiate on this.
Good. For instance, I can take you back. Look at Plateau State, for instance.
Where you served as
garrison commander.
Yes.
I can tell you that, go and look at history. From 1960 to the year 2001, there were no killings between Muslims and Christians. They were all living together peacefully.
Between 1960?
Yes.
That is when Nigeria got independence. Up to 2001. Which we can simply say 2 years into this democratic dispensation. But
since that time, you can never count the number of crises and conflicts that have taken place in the plateau. It is just a recurring decimal. Before then, people were living peacefully, people were living with one another. So the question is that there are so many policies, obnoxious policies, that tend to segregate people. Then there are so many, and some of those things are actually part of the push and pull in the crisis in the plot. For instance, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In our own constitution, Article 14(2) sub B states that security and welfare should be the primary role of government. So based on that, that means government, the most important role of government is security. Now, going back to Plateau, you could see that I think since after the return to, before the return to civil rule, it was quite peaceful. After the return of civil rule, so many things continue to happen. For instance, the issue of settler and indigene.
That
dichotomy existed even before them, but it was not actually implemented. But its implementation actually closed opportunities for some group of persons. And I can tell you, even now, if you look at Plateau, there are so many parts of Plateau that you could never have had any problems. Like Kanke.
Okay, Kanke, of all places.
Yes. And so many others, those local governments. You don't have anything.
Why?
But the major problem is usually Bokos, Bariki-Ladi. And these are people who have stayed for hundreds of years. And I used to tell people that, you see, even when you go back to our constitution did not in any way explain who is an indigene. So the constitution is silent, just says there are indigents. So based on that, and I can tell you that I used to tell people that everybody you see here migrated from somewhere, because migration is a human phenomenon. So the question is, who comes first? This is something that not everybody can be able to see, because there are some people who have been in Plateau. Some people say their families were there for 400 years. You cannot claim then that they are actually settlers. That makes them indigents. So this is why I am of the view that some of these policies, we should have a look at them. We should look at policies that deepen unity, policies that promote peaceful coexistence. We should frown on policies that increase animosity, deepen acrimony, and contribute to hatred. Because the question is that when I was in Plateau, I could see it, that these are some of the issues that the government should look at it, that we should avoid politics that exclude people. Now, not only that, there is actually, yes, there is the issue of land, there is the issue of fight over resources like water, but I can tell you that these are issues. And this is why I said that this is why I'm of the view that even currently now, they have recently formed a committee to look at the reasons for the crisis in the Plateau. When I looked at the list, it's quite good, it's well packaged. The
list of those
who are there as members. But I am of the view that, yes, if we are going to do such, the Fulani should be represented.
But they are not in that committee.
Yes, even if you are going to engage with them, let them be part of the committee. Let Christian Association of Nigeria be there. Let the... But
do you think it will really lead to something positive? Because, of course, I saw a clip, a video, a footage of, the leader. I think the leader who was charged to lead that committee, saying it's not really tenable for someone to just come and say that he is part and parcel of a certain community overnight. If someone who will lead a committee that will lead to, a consensus has this mindset, do you think at the end of the day there will be something tangible?
Well, I know the chairman of the committee is my senior in the army, and we in the military were actually taught and we are molded for us to be broad-minded. All of us, once you are trained by the military, the first thing you know is that you should be made to be, none of us should be a tribal bigot or a religious extremist. So being an officer, I feel, I know that the officer, the senior officer who is my superior is straightforward, but I have actually listened to it, because since they are still in the process of finding the issues, so let's wait and see. But I can tell you that I have my own perception to what is happening, being the fact that I was there.
You can see he said he has shelved his plan to visit Kaduna, and instead he will go to Benue. But he also said they have to solve their problem. What is happening is actually retaliatory in nature, tit for tat. But it's like many people in Benue, they don't really accept that, because if you check the social media, they said it's like the president is trying to be biased. They are under attack, and the president is saying tit for tat. I don't know how we can reconcile this. This is commander-in-chief meaning that he must have spoken based on intelligence.
You see, the question is that we're all human beings. Now, even in science, they say every action leads to a reaction. If you keep this, it cannot move unless you push it. So the question is that I don't think anybody in his right senses will just go and kill somebody just like that because you hate him. It has not been the trend. Based on my experience when I was in the plateau, I have known that most of the attacks that have taken place were as a result of reprisals.
Just as the president said.
Yes, that means you touch me, I touch you. And I think the better we end this cycle, the better for all of us. This is why I used to tell people that if we begin to blame one another, we will never see an end to this issue. We need to sit down and agree on issues. This cycle of violence has to be ended.
But how can it be ended when people are living in denial, General? Because as I said, of course, in the introductory part, you can see we also quoted David Mack, a retired general of the army, saying it appears as if he passed a vote of no confidence in a way. I don't know, I may be wrong, but from what he said, that people will be forced to defend themselves.
You see, this is why I say he is a very senior officer. I'm not faulting him. And,
for taking that position. Just the way T.Y. and Juma also took similar position.
But to me, I'm always of the belief that we should allow the security agencies to do their job. All what they need is more information. They need to, I know the Chief of Defense Staff, and I know he's working in synergy with the police and other security agencies. I'm sure if they can get their acts together, they can be able to stem the tide. Stop this. However, as General C.G. Musa has equally said, you see, some of these solutions are not kinetic. The kinetic is just an aspect, it's just an enabler. The most important thing is people to agree to stay together. And this is why I said that I used to tell people that by destiny, we're actually created in the same country with different tribes, different religions. So we should be tolerant of one another.
Welcome back to Local Journal, my people. Honestly, I ask myself that for how long will these people keep maiming people, killing people without anybody putting them in check? Even the government is scared of them. Let's look at what is going on in Benue State, Plateau State, and Enugu State. Do we have a government? Do we have leaders? If it were the other way around now, you see people coming out to say all sorts of things and make all sorts of threats. But over 200 people were killed in Benue State, massacred and unalived. But till date, no northern leader has come out to condemn this act. The painful aspect of all this whole thing is not just even coming out to condemn it, but coming out on a public TV station like this to defend them. You want to tell me that all the things happening in Benue State, Plateau State, and Enugu State are as a result of reprisal attack? The Northern General who just spoke claimed that this whole problem is happening as a result of cattle rustling in some of the states that are affected. But is this the truth? We know in the north there are so many places that insecurity too are going on. But the truth is this: the issue they have in the north is different from the one they have in the Middle Belt. The issue in the north is banditry and Boko Haram, but the one in Middle Belt is Fulani Herdsmen marauding about and trying to claim people's land and chase them out of their own ancestral land. I don't support cattle rustling or any form of violence against anybody, but this is it. If somebody rustled your cow and you want to get justice for it, is it not to bring it to the notice of the state government or the government so that they can hunt the people who are responsible, so that they can get them arrested? Is that not the proper way of doing things? Don't they know the right channel to channel all their complaints to? Why should they always resort to taking the laws into their own hands if this is what you feel is like? And why is it that these guys are given guns and ammunition if you guys claim that these guys are really herdsmen? You people call it a reprisal attack. Are you exchanging human life for cow? Of course, I'm not justifying the killing of cows, but the thing is this: you can never compare human lives and cow. Honestly, with the current happening and everything that is happening in Nigeria, where some people feel superior to the other, where other regions feel superior to the other regions, where a certain tribe feels superior to the other tribe, where a certain tribe commits something and nobody talks about it, but once there is a retaliatory action from the other tribes, they become the talk of the town. This is nothing but hypocrisy at its peak, and it stinks, to be honest. And this is the more reason why I say that this country cannot be united, because we are not one. We are not being fair to each other. We are not being just to each other, and there is no sense of equity and oneness amongst us as Nigerians. What happened to ranching? If you guys feel that it's a herder-farmer clash, this is not a herder-farmer clash. This is nothing but a ploy to chase people out of their own ancestral land. For me, Nigerians need to wake up and stand for themselves, because the government is not ready to do anything about this issue at all, because this issue is not just happening. It's been lingering for a very while now, and the whole thing is this. The president is there to visit today. He visits, he goes back, and this whole attack continues again. At most, they'll give a break for like 2 to 3 months, and they continue in this same manner and way they attack again, and people will keep on dying. So for me, it is time for the people to wake up. Wake up and defend yourself. Wake up and defend your land, and don't give anybody that breathing space to come into your land, maim, destroy your property, and take away or chase you away out of your own ancestral land. This is what I have to say in this whole thing. What do you have to say about this issue? Kindly drop what you have to say in the comment section. And if today is your first time to visit our channel, please kindly like, share, and subscribe to our channel.